Welcome to Cracked Movie Club, the show where we do a book club, but for movies, which are like books, but better. I'm your host, Jordan Breeding, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Jesse and Allie. Did you see that? That was about as professional as we've ever
That
done
was
it.
really good. That was smooth.
Felt
All right, let's
strong.
take it again and actually record it
Let's
this
fuck it
time.
up this time. Oh no, I messed up.
Oh my God,
Oh, no.
literally, that was like 20 seconds. We're going to get demonetized. Oh my God.
I mean, I'm sure this is going to be a huge hit with all the obvious monetization for people who are big fans of We're Back, a Dinosaur Story.
Yeah, we're going to get a whole influx of, like, I don't know, 4-year-old fans after this one.
My hope, yeah, right, because 4-year-olds are watching this movie actively. No,
Yeah,
I think
they all love it.
we're gonna trick a lot of people with this thumbnail of a dinosaur riding Spider-Man and be like, "Oh, is this Jurassic World Dominion? That's interesting."
Wait a
And
minute. I thought I was at least going to have like a little headshot or a funny picture, not just a black screen where my face should be.
I mean, what do you want me to? Well, I can't do anything about it. What do you want from me?
All right.
You're like
when I talked to
Cortana.
I don't know. When we
Nope.
talked about it earlier, I was like, "Hey, I won't be able to have the camera on because." Long story short, something happened in my building, and all the internet is really spotty and not great. And it's like fine if I don't have my video on, but if my video's on, I get disconnected. So I told Jordan this early, just in the hopes that we'd like have a funny little image, like maybe my face on a dinosaur. But it turns out nothing.
Well, how do I do that? Tell me how to do that, and I'll make it happen.
I don't know how to do anything. You're asking me how to do anything? I'm the one who cursed in the first 20 seconds.
Exactly.
We used to be little people on sticks. There's got to be something. Technology
Yeah.
advanced so far in the last 9 months.
Somebody says that it's 5 a.m. in Tokyo, so we gotta hurry up.
Okay.
Well, good morning.
Or actually, it should be the opposite. Why would you go to bed now? It's 5 a.m. It's already.
Just give up, man. It's already tomorrow.
Wake up. All right. So real quick, for those of us that haven't watched this before and haven't already signed off or aren't in freaking Tokyo, the deal is that at the end of this, we're going to take any comments or suggestions or alternate movie titles that we think are interesting, and we'll talk about them at the end of the podcast. So throw them in your respective chats, and I will do my best to flag them, and we'll talk about it. So this is what I just said, but it's visual in case you're more of a visual learner. And Jesse, what did we watch? And like recap it.
We watched We're Back, a Dinosaur Story? Or was it a Dinosaur Tale?
Story.
I think it's
Story.
a
Why
story,
wasn't
yeah.
it a tale?
Because they already had
Absolutely
American
should've been a
Tail. They already had American Tail. They can't double dip.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Can't
that's
double
true.
dip.
This movie was certainly going for novelty. It was okay. So it's an animated saga about a very nice dinosaur who was basically nice. He was a nice dinosaur the whole time. Essentially, it's about these dinosaurs that get kidnapped by a mad scientist from our time who's learned how to make all sorts of inventions, including a time machine, a radio that broadcasts all the hopes and dreams of children, probably some other stuff. So he goes back in time. He decides that the best way to fulfill all the hopes and dreams of children is to kidnap dinosaurs, make them sentient and nice, and bring them to the present and let little kids see them. So he does.
Which, by the way, that's the best setup. That's like, I know what everyone in the world wants, particularly children, and I have future technology and I can do anything. And what I think is the most net good is to make dinosaurs sentient so kids can see dinosaurs. That's
and
like,
were they wrong? Because those kids seemed really happy, and it also was like a weird, like meta.
But it's also like
story
it's
about
setting
how
them
we
to
all
New
had
York.
dino craze. Yeah, well, they had to meet Julia Child and
but it's
go to
just like,
the Natural History Museum.
it's so funny that it's like, why bother with this insanely elaborate setup to just have dinosaurs be there? They're like, no, they're there to make children happy, specifically New York children at the Natural History Museum.
That is actually the most equitable place to put the dinosaurs, because any kid who's interested in dinosaurs
lives in New
You're
York.
already making a pilgrimage to the Natural History Museum to see the bones. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
It's either
But
that
also-
or Chicago, where Sue is, or whatever it is.
Well, but also, if this guy's a time traveler, why doesn't he go just a few more decades into the future where the internet exists and go ahead and put them anywhere safe and let cameras be
Now,
on them?
see, I love that idea because that means that the inventor of the internet would be film writer John Patrick Shanley,
Well,
and that I really admire.
I also think. Oh shoot, we got a thing.
What's happening?
Somebody gave us €5, pounds. I don't know anything
Dang.
outside America.
Simoleons, thank you.
Royal Jesse, you do more anime. How do you
Vegeta, my
Vegeta.
man.
83. I took my kids to watch more or less every regular and animated movie in the cinema this year that they can watch, and I have to say, Belle wins 2022. I don't even know what that is, but I've said it, and that's our official stance at Cracked. So,
Belle wins.
I'd
Right,
also,
okay, so
yeah, sorry, just go ahead. We'll get to all this stuff. Oh, look
Yeah.
at that, Devin Bimes in the chat. He was the best
What's up,
man at my
Devin?
wedding. He helped write the
Oh.
first 20 episodes of Your Brain on Cracked with me. So
Wow.
Wait, so you're saying that
Those are the best ones.
you're saying that you trust Devin's opinion, and if Devin says that
No.
he likes this movie,
no, I don't trust
well,
Devin's
because I know you're going to be mad at me because I'm the one who said that I love this movie as a kid, and then you sent a lot of texts saying, and this is an exact quote from Jordan's mouth. I hate your guys' childhoods.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said that. He said those exact words. I hate your
After
guys'
all the messed up stuff we all have learned about Jordan's childhood, for him to say he hates ours is a deep scar.
Yeah.
Well, I don't care.
Dinosaurs.
Is
Dinosaurs
it
story.
really dinosaurs? Like
It makes sense because
dinosaur?
it starts out. It's essentially from the point of view of John Goodman's T-Rex.
Oh man, you're right.
Yeah, there's
Which
a lot of
is-
storytelling devices within this movie. It starts
Which is-
off with like quite a few narrators, and then it ends with another. Like, one of my favorite things about this movie is that at the end of the movie, the guy who's the professor like turns and does a direct address to the camera, and it's like, and that's that, and then it zooms out again, and then John Goodman's T-Rex character ends the movie again with another narrative device within the narrative device within the narrative device. Big
Yeah.
fan.
He's like, don't forget, I have to close the loop on this weird bird family I was just hanging
Yeah,
out with.
why is the bird able to talk? Are there any other animals that can talk?
Wow.
Probably
maybe
he probably ate brain grain. Duh.
exactly.
Well,
He-
okay. So Aaron K wanted to. We got to make sure that we mention they're smart because they ate cereal.
Yeah.
Brain.
So
Brain
since brain grain
grain.
is the cereal that makes him smart, and then brain drain is like the pill that his evil counterpart gives them to make them like angry and dumb again. So here's
Sorry.
my question.
Really quick, his evil twin brother with a different last name. That's. I just.
Well,
wanted
he
to point that out.
changed it when he got his screw eye.
Yeah.
Duh.
It's pretty similar.
It's
Anyway,
kind of like
sorry,
how
go
his name
ahead.
was
And I-
Dr. Okay, like his name was Dr. Octavius. His name wasn't Dr. Octopus, and then oh my god, what a weird coincidence that now I have an octopus. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he changed his name to Doc Ock.
Yeah.
But his
It's like
name
when
was
I-
already New Eye, and then he got a new eye. It just
name was
happened to be
New
a
Eye?
screw. Yeah, that's the thing that makes no freaking sense. They worked backwards from Screw Eye.
That's true. That is the thing that makes no freaking sense.
Well,
Yeah, that's the only thing.
So
granted.
So here's
yeah.
the thing: if brain grain, this thing that he literally force feeds, the good guy force feeds the dinosaurs, this like just sloppy, gross brown cereal. Are we all familiar with how Kellogg's cornflakes started as a way to keep people from masturbating?
I did know that. Graham
So
crackers
I-
in general too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. So it's like a very bland thing that it's supposed to, like, if you stuff your maw with this bland, gross thing, you won't have naughty thoughts anymore. Was the idea of Mr. Kellogg. So I wonder if there's something, if this is a parallel of that. Like, you are smarter, you operate on a higher level if you eat this awful cereal and you don't ever JO, and
Well-
then you regress if you get into drugs.
Wait, what is there's some movie where that happens, right? Where they're literally no, it's Seinfeld. It's an episode
It's
of
Seinfeld where they have the
Yeah,
bet of the bet who can go the longest without jerking off. Yeah.
and George becomes like a genius
Yeah.
because he's finally not thinking about sex all the time. I think that's it. I think you nailed it. Also, apparently, nobody in this movie has ever seen a hot dog. I don't know if you saw the hot dogs in the movie.
Oh, those gross
they don't
ends?
look like hot dogs at all.
They look like hot dogs. That actually brought me back to when I was little and I visited Norway.
Ugh,
They
I
are
hate your
hot dogs.
childhood. Sorry, I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, I did too in the instance when I had to eat a foreign hot dog, because some hot dogs actually do have that like casing and stuff. They're more like a sausage. Or I think maybe hot dogs originally started out that way, but it's definitely gross.
It didn't make any sense. Why did they eat so many damn hot dogs that didn't look like hot dogs?
Well, you're eating the hot dogs because you're in New York, baby.
Oh, but they weren't in New York yet. They were on the Zeppelin from the
That's actually
future.
true. That's actually true.
Yeah.
They did end up in New York, and they actually stopped an armed robbery in process and got some hot dogs. But sorry,
Yeah, exactly.
we're spiraling off. Allie, why did we watch this movie? We have to have a reason before we just keep spinning forever.
We have been talking. This movie has sort of been in our consciousness for random reasons. One, because we were talking about how much you hate our childhoods. Two, because we were talking about we watched Moonstruck, which is a John Patrick Shanley joint. And then something else came up recently where we were talking about like the dino craze of the 90s. And this movie came to my mind because it was like one of my very, very favorite movies as a kid. And like, it's one of those weird ones where if you bring it up, it's either met with, I love that movie, you are my best friend, or I've never heard of that movie, you must have made it up in your mind. Like this, other movies of this for me were like, remember like there was like Little Nemo Adventures in Slumberland. You either know it and you're like, oh my God, Allie, no way. Or you're like, you're making that up. There was a Troll in Central Park. Like there were a lot of like,
like Ninja Turtles Go to Camp.
Is that true? See, I don't know.
What else we got?
No, but like
is it?
There seems to be a subsect of these 90s animated movies that were not like the big Disney releases and weren't even like the huge Don Bluth ones that were like An American Tail or All Dogs Go to Heaven that were like these sort of like under the radar hits, and either you like knew them, loved them, can bond with people over them, or you sound like a psychotic trying to explain them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, Jordan's got his friends in the chat.
It for me. I loved this one. I love this movie so much. And I can't tell if it's because like when I was a kid, I like liked that movies took place in New York because I like grew up in New York City. So like for me, it was fun because I was like, that's where I live.
Oh, I was picturing you in that crowd or as the little kid that sounded like 100%. Maggie Simpson.
See, now I actually picture myself as Louis, the little boy. As this podcast's resident scamp, we don't have little scamps like this in movie anymore. We have lost this trope of just like a kid who's like 40 years old but is a child, and is like had so many great lines that were just like, where was the one about the kissing that I really liked?
Yeah, it was like, hey, what are you doing kissing me like that?
Yeah, he was like, hey, what are you, sappy? I was like, I'm obsessed. Like, this child doesn't exist in movies anymore, and we've really lost this genre of little scamp. Big fan.
Yeah. The only piece of pop culture media that's referenced Charlottesville, although I'm sure we'll get some documentary about the rallies or something, but there's a Tom Clancy novel where terrorists go into our small mall and start shooting it up, but then the hero shoots them, and as one of them gets hit in the spine and he's sort of dying but he's paralyzed, they drag him out of the Disney store to the Legends sports store and put a football in his hands because he's Muslim, and so he's touching pigskin as he dies. And I was like, hey, I actually know how you could do that. I've been to that mall several times. That's fun. And then he could go to GameStop
the blueprints
or Babbage's. Yeah. Anyway.
See, sometimes when things take place in your hometown, you're like, I love this now. Like my favorite, like when I was a kid, my favorite cartoon was, I know it doesn't take place in New York, but like in my mind it was Hey Arnold. Anything that was like kids in a city, I was like, yeah, for sure.
Is it not in New York? I thought it definitely was.
I always thought it definitely was. And then somebody recently was like, no, what about this? And I was like, okay, I guess you're right. I don't know. In my mind, it was always New York City.
Hey Arnold was also
identified with them.
Yeah. Hey Arnold was also a childhood favorite of mine due to the prevalence of gadgets. It's another really good one.
Lots of gadgets. For me, it was a lot of kid scamps, girl bullies, things that I like.
Yeah, it sounds like you.
So back to this actual movie that we're talking about. I at least agree with your hypothesis. I had seen it and totally blanked on it. But the whole time I'm watching the movie, I remember all of the things, because for people that haven't seen it, as insane as that intro is, they go through New York, that's insane. But it ends up, the last third of a movie is at a haunted circus, essentially. Or like a creepy, like a horror circus, which I guess we're supposed to think is bad, but like It's very popular.
It's pretty
We are
sick.
also told pretty explicitly that it's in Central Park.
Right.
like the kid in the beginning of the movie when he
Right.
meets up with the dinosaurs is like, well, if you get me to Central Park, I'll help you get across the park or whatever it is. And it's like, dang, permanently? Do they have a permit? Like, I can't like I guess this creepy circus just is in Central Park all the time.
Yeah, it just sounds like he's like an entrepreneur. He just found what the people wanted, and it's scary stuff, and he's doing it. I mean, he's signing children to non-specific contracts, I guess,
Yeah.
which is not nice.
Magic contracts.
Yeah, they can't
Yeah, that
possibly be binding.
So spooky.
Well, it was signed in blood, so it's automatically binding forever. How did so at the end, the clown who befriends the kids, he's also in servitude to Mr. Kooky Eyes or whatever. How did he quit? I feel like you can't just quit. He probably signed in blood or semen.
Well, either way, Screw Eyes was eaten to death by crows. So...
Oh, I love that. Was he eaten or did he just return to whence he came? That
Nah, 'cause
image is so spooky.
his eyeball fell out. So I think they ate everything but the eyeball.
His body just is subsumed by these crows, and then in silence, they're there and then they're gone, and then the screw
terrifying.
tumbles to the floor. There were a couple moments that, I mean, look, is the script good? No, of course it isn't.
Yes,
I would say that this movie dares to ask, what if you had some protagonists who didn't want anything? Like one of like the number one rules of writing anything is like you need to have like main characters who like want something or are afraid of something. Like you need to come up against some semblance of a conflict. Like genuinely nothing happens to these protagonists in the movie and then the movie's over. End of movie. But there are some like lines that stand out to me. I'm like, oh, a playwright wrote this, and I like there is a part where
please let no bad happen.
There's a part where Julia Child as the dinosaur professor says, "Oh, I missed them with my endless, shameless lateness."
Oh yeah,
I missed them with my endless, shameless lateness. It's like, who would ever say that? But I'm like obsessed with the idea that this character is just like, I'm always late. Well, that's me, and I'm not going to change. I'm too old to change. Just like I felt like I learned so much about that character in that moment.
I love that whole thing too, because it's like I have a future Zeppelin and I can travel through time, but I can't actually get you to where you're trying to go. I'm just going to airdrop you.
Yeah, like it's
general area.
Fortnite.
But then at the same time, there's apparently a woman there who's aware of the existence of sentient dinosaurs and is going to pick them up, but can't be bothered to show up on time.
It's her endless, shameless lateness. Just obsessed.
She's just like, oh, I know there will be dinosaurs, but like I got something to do. Oh, by the way, on the evil circus, the first thing I noticed when they show up and it's like, oh, everything here is scary. They have a frozen yogurt stand, which is just
that's scary.
Well, it's so delightful. I was like, well, what is this freaking?
Well, the scariness is that it's not
ice cream. It's custard. I don't eat that. Yeah. I just thought that was amazing.
Allie, when you say like the protagonists didn't want anything, technically what they wanted was for human children in the future to be happy, which like.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, sorry.
I mean, there's a moment where when they have gained like sentience, they talk about being like remorseful of being monsters, of just being like, I think of all the things I ate and stepped on, and then there's like a little lizard under his foot.
Yeah,
like,
and
sorry, sir. And so I guess they have like gained morality, but like again, like there's no moment in the movie where they're like,
no,
hey, we can't eat Dr. Screw Eyes. I mean, it'd be easy to, but it would make us bad people. Do you know what I mean?
Like, they do that.
Not
she
really.
Says that. Well, no, the kid says, like, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to, punch him right in the penis. And the girl's like, you can't.
Yeah, the boy and the girl, not the dinosaurs.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
I will say the moral of the story, if there is one, is you should make up with your parents, because that's what it ends on. They're like,
yeah.
And then the kids, they went home and they made up with their parents. And that's why you, little bird, who ostensibly I've been telling this entire story to, should go back to your mom. Like, because it opens with him being like, Mom, I don't like hanging out with you. You're too cuddly to me. You make me weak. And then at the end of he's like, actually, I've got a story for you about why you should be nice to your mom. And it has nothing to do with parents. It's everything to do with time travel and sentient dinosaurs and the power of horror and fear, and also a brief lesson on that's comedy. Like the clown being like,
Oh,
"I
yeah.
know comedy. You don't know comedy."
Yeah.
And then at the end he's like, "And that's why you should love your mom." And he's like, "You're right. Thank you for
Yeah.
telling me
There's
that
also a
story.
line
I'm
in the
convinced."
beginning of this where, first of all, it takes place on Thanksgiving, which I think is
Yeah.
great. I just like any movie that's like, and surprise, this takes place on Thanksgiving.
And that kid wanted the Thanksgiving hat. That was her greatest
Yeah.
wish.
Just love it. But then at one point, the Lisa Simpson girl says, "My father's very business and my mother's very social." And I was like, again, a line that I could only dream of writing. It's like, it's so obvious, but it's like, so what a way to say it. I love it.
It was also great how she talks so like hoity-toity compared to the little scamp guy who's like the perfect little Brooklyn scamp. Like,
Yeah.
she talks in a way that like nobody talks anymore. Was there a documentary about these like two super rich brothers in New York who they spoke in this way that like they were the last of their kind to speak that way? It felt like that's what this little girl came from. This like
She
high
does
class
say
thing that doesn't exist anymore.
he does accuse her of being a debutante, and she goes, "Yeah,
She's like,
that's what I am."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh,
Alright.
all right."
She's like, her little hormones are raging because all she wants is a kiss and she will get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even if she literally tricks him into thinking it's his idea, it's a little fucked
Yeah.
up.
I will
mean,
say,
I just, there's something fun about these like kid characters that I feel like as an archetype don't really exist in kids movie anymore. Like, I think kids movies have made kid characters a little more smart isn't
Woke.
quite the right word, because they're not woke, like sassier, more like an audience stand-in. Like the kid is always the one who's like, "Oh yeah, this guy's crazy." I'm the one who's as smart as the audience, if not smarter. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, these kids are just like putzes, and I like like
These kids are like super self-sufficient, and it's more like the movie or show is about them. Like, this kid feels like an Arnold maybe, or like a Harriet the Spy. This reminded me of that. That was something I watched like as a kid. Whereas like they're very self-sufficient, and they're not like they don't care about the audience. This is their adventure, you know?
yeah.
yeah, it's my only addition to this is that I think this was an older movie thing where they do like shots where you're supposed to think that the underage girl character is extremely attractive because you're seeing it from the boy's perspective. But I just feel weird. I just think it's weird to have like she's like got these huge eyes and is kind of looking at him, and I'm like, I think it makes more sense when it's Wendy Peppercorn or whatever. It's weird when it's another 12-year-old. It just
Jordan did send us a screen cap while he was watching it, and just said, "I have sinned."
Well, technically, I sinned because a woman in a mermaid outfit brandishing an American flag popped out of an oyster, which just, by the way, that has nothing to do with anything. That's actually the clown.
Circus.
No, that was the clown proving that he understood comedy, right?
Yeah, he was giving in his badge, and he was saying, "I'm forfeiting all of my jokes and gags, and one of them is a super hot lady with a pretty average boyfriend," like popping out of a clown. That was very funny.
I also like for a movie of this movie's quality, which is debatable. I certainly loved it, so let's not forget that. But it's not like a classic. They hauled some pretty significant voice talent, considering it was like led by John Goodman,
yeah.
and then the clown that we're talking about is Martin Short, one of my favorite people of all time, and then there's Rhea Perlman as just the mother of the little bird, which is wild. She had like 2 lines. Jay Leno was the alien that had like 2 lines. Walter Cronkite was Captain New Eyes.
Yeah.
Really quick, Andrew L. Case gave us $5 and said we should watch Willow because
I just watched Willow for the first time about 2 weeks ago.
Growing up, so maybe we should do that sometime. I mean,
I really actually enjoyed it. It's sort of amazing that I'd never seen it as like a kid who would have probably lost their mind for Willow. It was really fun.
Yeah. Sorry, what were you saying?
I was going to say, speaking of how uncomfortable it is that they made like the little kid like love story pretty front and center.
Yeah.
At the very end, after she like corrupts him into kissing her. That's when the horny lady pterodactyl sidles on up to the T-Rex and says, and is just like, yeah, this is the right moment. We just watched two little kids make out, and now's the right time to make my move and talk about full-grown adult dinosaur sex.
Yeah, she's like, I want to lay an egg with you or something like that.
She's like, the way you look at me makes me want to lay an egg.
My goodness.
Previously, when we first meet her, somebody accuses her of having laid an egg, and she's like, oops, sorry. So like, I thought maybe that meant that was supposed to be like
she's been hooking up with the other. So this is a pro-abortion movie.
Is
it well.
Abortion?
Yeah, because she just lays an egg and drops it, doesn't care.
Oh, that's true. An unfertilized egg is a human being, I guess. Real progressive, Jordan.
Sorry, I don't know where we're supposed to land on those things.
But the pterodactyl, the lady pterodactyl, decides that she wants to pop out an egg and have a T-Rex sperminate it.
I mean,
sperminate.
That's our new title for this. We're
Sperminator.
Back. Or Sperminate, a dinosaur story.
But yeah, like I think you either have an affinity for these kinds of movies because they were part of your childhood. Maybe not even this specifically, this one, but like these movies of this oeuvre, or you don't. And I don't think you can like suddenly just decide you like them as an adult. I think you have to be like, I used to watch The Pebble and the Penguin. And then some of you are going to go, what? And then other views are going to be like, definitely. That shapes me as a person. Others of you. Sorry, I got the Louis disease. I'm turning back into my little New York scamp that I was born as.
Well, I feel like it's just because as an adult you start to notice things, even if it's a little bit more subconsciously, where like there are lots of scenes where there is no music, just dialogue, and there's weird, awkward pauses between all the lines, and there's not really anything going on. It's not like an action scene, so they're just like, "Hey, did you eat any of that brain stuff?" And they're like, "Yeah, you wanna like eat a hot dog? I stepped on a lizard," and you're just like, put some music in there or something. They'll just have like whirring machinery noises.
I think some of it might have been
like, a lot of slurp. Oh, they're here.
Naked HD, 84% have already found love with us.
84. That's like a B grade. That's not great, Naked HD.
What happens when you get to 100? You have to retire.
They shut down.
Yeah.
Well, no, then you sell it to Meta or Jeff Bezos or whatever.
Yeah, I think I will say the animation itself and the art and the backgrounds and stuff were really cool. They were really good. And I think some of the times maybe what you're noticing with the silence is like those dramatic, like when he's peeling the lizard off of his foot. It was a lot of frames to do that. You know, so I feel like they like
lots of eating and slurping and snorting sound effects too.
When the Triceratops Woog was outside of like a cheese shop and licking the glass, the lines on his face were so intricate. He was, if he could, he was laying an egg in that moment. It was a sexual experience for him.
And me. Yeah.
And it was like the sounds were so potent. I don't know how else to explain it. Like it wasn't just the sound mixing, it was the quality and care that went into the sounds.
A lot of
I didn't remember that from when I was a kid.
Wow.
There was some great echoey sort of stuff, like when the clown was going off the handle at the end. When he was further away, he sounded like he was in a warehouse, and I don't
that is
think
true.
They recorded it in a warehouse.
Yeah, they sent Martin Short to a warehouse, and they wouldn't let him out until he was done with all of his lines for her back.
Until he proved what comedy was. Yeah. Yeah. I think the reason you would like this movie as a kid in particular is just because of the sheer randomness of what, like, there's no conceivable way you could guess what's going to happen next. Not that necessarily matters, but it kind of feels like Up in that sense, but Up is the much higher quality version of this, where there's not really an easy way to guess what is going to happen, like beat by beat and Up, because it's like, oh, sad old man and his house is flying to the Amazon. There's a talking bird and dog. Well, there's a talking dog and there's a crazy bird and there's a dog zeppelin from hell.
And the dogs can fly the airplanes, which is what my mom said was the quote unquote not believable part of Up. We all went to go see Up together, and on the way out, my mom was like, "I really loved that movie until the dogs started flying the airplanes." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Why?" And she's like, "Well,
They
dogs
need
don't
to
fly airplanes." It was
respect.
so not believable. It took me out of the movie. Like up until that point, all checked out. The minute the dogs flew the airplanes, she was not gonna buy it.
She was like, "Is this a documentary?"
I don't know why that was like the thing. Okay,
Yeah.
part of what I liked about this movie as a kid, that I 100% remember as being part of why I like this movie, is that it's scary. And like
It is scary.
I liked things that were like kids entertainment that verged on a little too scary for me. Like I loved Are You Afraid of the Dark? And
Ooh, yeah.
almost all of the animated movies that I like remember watching a lot had sequences that were like really pretty genuinely spooky. One of them is Little Nemo Adventures in Slumberland. Again, I know I'm going to sound like I'm lying, but it was a dubbed movie that was from Japan that was so scary. And there was another movie that was called The Thief and the Cobbler, which has a very crazy production history. It honestly could be a cracked video about like the amount of times this movie was like bought, sold, redubbed.
I think I know what you're
blah, blah,
talking
blah.
about. It's
It
like,
was
and it took like over
amazing.
10 years to animate.
Yes, the animation is spectacular, but
Incredible,
it's also
yeah.
really, really scary. And there's just something about, I think you either like have that messed up thing in your brain or you don't. But I had the messed up thing in my brain, and I like wanted to be scared.
So
And this movie is scary.
I actually had this this guilty bad dad moment where I put my older daughter and I were watching Princess and the Frog, which I don't know if you've seen this, but it has like the bad guy's like a voodoo.
Yeah, he's scary.
guy.
He's scary. He
And
walks
it's
through the
pretty-
shadows. Spooky, spooky.
Yeah. It's relatively intense. But it was just me watching the kids. Anna was at work. My wife was at work. And our other daughter woke up. And so I went to like rock her and I had to do all the stuff. And I come back and Sweet's eyes are so big. And she's like, I didn't like the scary part. I was like, sorry.
Life's
Voodoo
be
isn't real. Yeah, but it's just funny because it's the first time she's seen anything scary at all because she hasn't watched anything on her own necessarily. I've always been there to be like, nothing happens in this part. They're singing again. Yay.
Yeah.
Papa,
Anyway.
what is this new emotion?
Yeah.
It is a bitter type of joy. Do not like it.
Yeah, I felt bad about
I
it.
don't know. Maybe
But-
she'll be like, "Oh, that now I've got the adrenaline bug. What else is scary?"
Oh, she's got the adrenaline, but she just like jumps off of things. She's just perpetually injured because she's scootering or cartwheeling or whatever. So she doesn't.
Thank God
need-
you're not. Thank God you're shielding her from the scary parts of movies while she's out jumping off a roof.
Yeah. She's gotta go to the school of hard falling off of roofs.
That used to be my favorite game. Is I would actually go to Central Park with my friends and we would dare each other to jump off the highest rocks, and we'd see who was
That
too
sounds
scared
sick.
to jump off the highest rocks. It was great.
And
That's
loser
what-
had
if
to
you-
join the evil circus. Yeah.
Yeah. Loser has to become a monkey. Gotcha. But yeah, some people will be like, was growing up in New York really different? And I'm like, I don't think so. Did you jump off of high rocks? And they'll be like, uh-huh. And I'll be like, I jumped off of high rocks. That was basically it.
There you go.
I didn't
So
have
you're-
rocks. Pretty flat land.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say also on the subject of how this is similar to modern movies. So you know how a lot of like kids movies will just like be beat after beat of like, okay, what are kids into? Like they like Fortnite, they like dancing, they like, like they'll just like throw in like the modern things that kids know and love. And back whenever this was written, I don't know when the book was actually written, but it was like, yeah, what do kids love? They love parades and circuses and like
Hot dogs.
hot dogs. Yeah.
And
It
one
was just
song
like-
in a movie.
Yeah. Just
A
one.
lot of these movies also had like, they weren't like full on musicals, but they had like one musical number. Also, this one was written by the guy who wrote the song "She Blinded Me with Science."
Not familiar with that song, but
I thought you were gonna say she bangs.
No, there's
With
a song.
science.
There's a song called "She Blinded Me with Science." It's really good. And
How does it go?
It's written by a guy named Thomas Dolby. And then in the finale, the song was performed by Little Richard. So
Full
they
circle.
they hauled some big
Wow.
talent in this movie.
It really did. I didn't read up on the production, but I don't know.
Yeah,
how they
so-
got that.
yeah, it was interesting. I was just reading a little bit about the background because I was wondering how and why. So, like, a big part of what's interesting about this movie is that it's produced by Steven Spielberg's entertainment or production company, Amblin. And
Steven
so-
Spielberg's nephew.
Yeah, it's his friend Jeff. Actually, they never They're just like pen pals from a foreign exchange program. I'm just going to keep running with it. So it's ostensibly should be good, but there were like 4 directors on it. They were adapting the book they're adapting was 20 pages long, had no antagonist, had no plot, really. It was literally like, haha, dinosaurs. New York City. Isn't that crazy? Hey, look, we got another thing, by the way. Rage Casanova gave us $5 and said, love this movie growing up. Wish they included the Screw Eye backstory scene. It's on YouTube if you haven't seen it. It kind of rounds him out. That's
interesting. I'd love to learn more about that. Also, what was
that they cut scenes given that it was only like an hour and 5 minutes, 10 minutes long?
It was blessedly short.
Yeah, maybe it was too scary. Nice. Maybe they were like, no, this is too scary for the kids. It's gonna mess them up.
Yeah.
Well, thank God
I'm looking
for that.
at the Amblin Entertainment animated movies of the 90s, and I gotta say, these were all my favorites.
Well, because they were
Balto, are you kidding?
Never watched that.
Oh yeah.
Oh
my
God.
One.
Okay, Balto was amazing, and American Tail was amazing. American Tail 5 Goes West was amazing.
So,
Land Before Time. These were the best ones.
One of the directors on this, again, of which there were 4, got pulled off halfway through to go make Balto. So like a lot of these people, it is Pixar-esque in that everybody was kind of working on everything at the same time. And somehow this just got shat out while they were making, again, Fievel Goes West and like An American Tail and Balto. There's a lot of great stuff in there. This one, I mean, kids didn't like it. This movie freaking bombed.
It's like, I think it's people in the chat. I know you're saying you like it. I hated it, and historically, so did other kids.
Well, it's not even that. It's just like I think it must have. I didn't look into this, but it must have been one of those things where it was just prominently displayed at Blockbuster, or it just happened to be on PBS 3,000 times. Like, there's no reason ostensibly that anybody should have seen it because it only made like $9 million in theaters, which is pretty bad.
I had a VHS. That's how you watched anything back in the day, is some family member said, here, have this and make this a big part of your personality for the rest of your life. And then you watched a VHS a lot.
That's such a good point. I bet it's just like how important thumbnails are to the modern internet. All this needed was really good looking animated dinosaurs on a look with attitude with the New York City skyline in the background. This is what I'm imagining the VHS cover looks like. And it's like, yeah, man, ants across the nation are going to buy this for Christmas.
100%.
Well, yeah, so a few people are mentioning that, their mom bought it on VHS or they got it on their home VHS. I mean, that makes sense. I do think you get to that point where like people are probably getting their first VHS player maybe around-ish this time. And so you're just looking for like, all right, what's a kid's movie? Oh, dinosaurs. I think you're right, though. The like a bunch of animated dinosaurs standing in the middle of New York City, even though it apparently didn't cross. Yeah. Like, oh, are they going to do a rap I've heard so much about? Not really. No, they're going to do kind of like a jazz. Well, I guess the song is like a rock song.
It's a rock song. Yeah. It's about rocking back to time.
As performed by
to the future, to the past.
John Goodman, which I'm assuming all children are big fans of John Goodman.
It's definitely his singing, at least. But I just
he's a pretty good singer.
He was fine.
Were we surprised? I was a little surprised.
No, because it was one of those. It's one of those musical-y type songs where they're like, "Hey, we're in New York City," and like, there's not a lot of range, or like, you just are kind of talking about what you're doing. Gotta rock. I don't know. It just didn't have like it wasn't like he was singing.
I was a little impressed.
Not singing freaking Wicked over here. He's just.
Also, something that I just realized about the movie that I didn't realize while I was watching it, and only just now, was like, hey, wait, I loved it at like during the parade scene that took place. They were like in the parade, and a kid would be like, hey, look, a triceratops, and the triceratops would go, that's me. But how does he know he's a triceratops? Nobody's named him a triceratops.
Well, because
he just like had a moment of self-awareness where he was like, I am triceratops.
I think they had the training up in the spaceship.
Yeah, they just sort of learned all the things that you could know when they ate the cereal. It doesn't.
This is what baffles me. Like, I've thought now, Allie, since you mentioned it, I've thought too much about their motivation, their motive. So picture this: you're a human, and you are just by nature a monster. You're destroying the earth, and you're bad. So what if a future alien that looks nothing like you kidnaps you and stuffs you full of this gross stuff?
Yeah.
And then tells you, here's how you can redeem yourself. We're going to go to the future and you're going to go be a servant to the larva of my future alien race, and you're going to sacrifice yourself to make my stupid little larvae happy. That's essentially it. That's their motivation, is to make the children of a different species happy.
You did very much weirdly describe this movie in a backwards ass way, but I'm struggling to see how that's a motivation that anyone is tracking with.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That is the motivation of the dinosaurs.
Yeah, be popular with these alien kids. They're completely unknown to you, but if you can just go make them happy, we won't look at you as monsters, which also doesn't make sense because the kids already know about dinosaurs and they don't think they're monsters. There isn't an image rehabilitation necessary. It would have been different if in this future, kids were like, no, dinosaurs are scary. They were monsters. And Julia Child was like, no, kids, dinosaurs are fantastic. And like, no one believes her. And the only way she can get them to believe her is to meet a dinosaur and they're actually nice. But like, they don't need any image rehab. These dinosaurs are the most popular motherfuckers on the planet.
That is actually that's a much clearer motivation than like just being like, hey, people don't know. I mean, honestly, even if it was just like, hey, they don't know about dinosaurs, you should just go teach them about dinosaurs. So like,
people are forgetting about dinosaurs. Nobody's coming to see these exhibits anymore. Kids are gonna forget.
Yeah, do you see this photograph of you and your dinosaur family?
You're disappearing. You have to go have sex with your mom.
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
Quick, she's ovulating.
Yeah. Oh, I can't though because I've eaten so much Frosted Flakes. I just can't. Just not into it anymore. But what I was going to say. So we got way off of this. But when they were writing it, one of the main guys, like the main director, said that he envisioned this as Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, but it's a 7-year-old Snow White, and the dwarves are dinosaurs.
I mean, is that not every child's dream? That would have been a hit.
I don't know, but they're 3 short for starters, and also that kid is not 7. I don't think. Surely he's
I get the sense that he's like between 10 and 13.
Andrew LK says that. So essentially, this was Dino PR.
Correct, but they did not need PR because everyone loves dinosaurs. But they were receiving Dino PR.
They didn't really explain it either. I mean, it wasn't as 1-to-1 as that. The stated motivation is kids. Don't you want to fulfill kids' wishes, you asshole? And they're like, I guess.
One of the dinosaurs.
I didn't even know kids existed until 3 minutes ago or whatever. But
yeah. One of the dinosaurs at least one of them should have like cured polio or something. Like there's stuff that kids probably wish a little harder than I wish I could see a dinosaur alive.
Yeah. So at the
all the
end,
kids' wishes were very, very selfish. They were like, I wish my sister would stop hitting me. It's like, she's going to grow older and stop hitting you. I don't know what to tell you. But they were all wasting their wishes.
Yeah, we're sending a dinosaur to eat your sister. You're welcome. I feel like
so funny.
Yeah, I love the scene where Rex is like really old and he's standing over the grave of the Triceratops and he's like, did I earn it? Was it worth it?
Was it worth it?
Yeah, because because there's lots of mentions like, how is this one dinosaur worth traveling through time? And it's like, he better cure cancer. And he didn't, but he made people happy. And I think that's enough.
He did, but
anyway,
he made people happy. But what was like the final scene in this storytelling universe? It's like their final like moment of service was they're at the Museum of Natural History. Finally, what they have is they have an exhibit that it appeared to be no parents allowed. While parents were there, they were just like statues of dinosaurs. But then when it was just the kids, they came alive and they like wrestled them and tickled them and like that felt like a bad message to me. It's like, these will be real, because they even say to one of the kids, like, this is our little secret. Don't tell your parents.
Yeah, that is weird that like such a big part of the exhibit was that kids had to go in and then be held to a secret. But you know what? If if kids go to the Natural History Museum and they go, I saw a dinosaur, I saw a real dinosaur, and it picked me up in its mouth and it said hi to me and it said, don't tell your daddy. You'd be like, okay, Michael, very nice. I hope you had fun.
This is post Rampage. The Rampage was so hardcore, the police brought a tank to stop them.
Yeah.
Well, they also brought a guy with a baton to beat the shit out of a dinosaur, but they also brought a tank. They knocked guns out of people's hands. I mean, they were
Well, this
They
is
were
GTA rules.
visible.
If you lay low long enough, the stars go away. The
Yeah, they
police
go
forget.
away.
I literally
your
thought that.
radio comes back on.
Yeah, because it was literally that. It was like the craziest thing that's ever happened in the history of anything. Dinosaurs blowing up the Macy's Day Parade.
Yeah.
The Macy's Day Parade. The Macy's Thanksgiving. Is it Macy's? It's not Macy's Day.
It's the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Yeah. I don't know if they killed people. I don't think they killed. I mean, surely they didn't kill people because then it would have been way darker.
Somebody got trampled for sure.
But they like blow the whole thing up and then they just like hide in an alley. And it's like, well, damn.
Okay. I mean,
guess
like,
they're
look,
gone.
there are animated movies that like set up and hold to the stakes they have set up extremely well, and that's like the point of the movie. And I feel like one of the best examples of that is Iron Giant, which I am assuming you guys have seen.
Yeah, I have seen that.
Iron Giant's an amazing movie. I feel like that's not even just like being like, oh, I have nostalgia brain. Like that's just like a very well crafted movie. And to that point of what you're saying, like when there is a giant robot, some people would be okay with nuking a whole town just to get rid of the giant robot. Like those are like real world stakes. And then in this movie,
otherwise,
it's just sort
why
of
do
like
they need
a dinosaur.
to hide?
Right.
Because they're like, we have to hide, although it's not really clear why, because at some point they intend to be alive. You know, there's not like a plan, like at some point we're going to reveal to the world we're just not ready for it yet. I mean, literally, I guess the plan from day one was we are going to set up a secret back room for children. That was their whole plan. And they're like, their parents just aren't going to get it. So like, let's not tell them. But we got to sneak undercover to the Natural History Museum to create a secret back room for children. And I mean, that's it. That's like one half of their, like the problems that they face is, can they stay undercover? And no, they can't. And then the other one is children keep signing up for the damn circus with their blood.
But then at the end, John Goodman as Rex is just playing golf in Central Park. So he's not hiding.
How did he get there?
No. He's on a rooftop course.
No.
Yeah,
that last shot zooms out and he's in Central Park.
No, he's on top of an apartment or like a building. He's
in
on
Trump
the skyline.
Tower. He was on Jeffrey Epstein's island.
You're joking, but he might honestly be on Trump Tower.
It was pretty low. I mean, it was like it looked like an apartment complex more than it wasn't.
Maybe it was
like
the rich girl's apartment complex. She lives on Fifth Avenue, right over where the parade was.
I was really happy that
rich as hell.
I was really happy that she and her parents made up and then refurnished their home. That was kind of the main way that it was shown.
They took her to family night at whatever that was. It just said family night. I really liked that.
To illustrate how they were absentee parents. It was a big banner. They had a photo on the wall of this little girl sitting alone at a gala with a banner that said family night. And
then in the end, they were all at family night. At whatever that gala was. No, at the end, Louis is like, and we reconnected with our parents. And then it's a series of pictures, and in one of the pictures, they're all at family night this time.
Because that's the moral of the story is love your parents. Even if, I guess, none of them, that's weird too, because the bird's mom loved it or her or whatever. But their parents very much did not care for their children at all. They were letting them go sign up for the circus with their blood because they were never home.
Right. But don't worry, the kids forgave them for doing that, and now we're all okay.
And but more important, that was the funniest way to even end it. They were like, "Oh yeah, don't worry, they're still a couple. They're still smooching, and also they're with their parents. It's fine."
Yeah. So anyway, do you guys have any last minute observations before we throw
any last requests?
The only thing I had too was it had one of those really long intros, like opening credits in a movie that was only like 68 minutes long.
Yeah, and really long credits at the end too. I mean, like again, like obviously credits at the end don't count necessarily, but like I remember seeing like how much time was left in the movie and being like, this feels over. Is this gonna have another plot point? And then I was like, oh no, it's just going to be a lot of credits as sung by Richard.
I think everybody at Amblin tried to make it a good movie, and they
they had all the greatest minds of their generation on this one.
Yeah, and this is what they came up with, and We did our best. I like hot dogs. You want to put hot dogs in the movie? That's a great idea, Jeff. Thank you.
Oh, I'm really good at drawing hot dogs.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say, like, most of the movies of this time weren't like actually better plot wise. At least the ones that I'm talking about as being in this same generation of like not necessarily
Jurassic
uh,
Park.
no, I'm not
American
saying
Tail.
I'm talking American Tail is better, but also American Tail was like an allegory. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they
were
they
good
went out of their
movies.
way. But I'm saying like Rockadoodle isn't a better movie than this. It doesn't have a more tight plot.
What
Remember
the hell is Rockadoodle? You're just
Jesse knows Rockadoodle?
I loved it, and I think I absolutely know Jordan would hate it.
Jesse,
Although, I
do
don't
you
know,
know
'cause it's
who
about a-
is in Rockadoodle?
No one, because it's
And I'm
not
going to ask you a
real.
question. I'm going to ask you a question. Who do you think played the sexy little bird that he's like the waitress who sings in Vegas? Who do you think that was?
I can't even.
It's Ellen
John
Green.
Goodman.
No, it's Ellen Green with her baby voice and her big boobs.
Wait, from
from Little Shop.
Yeah. Oh, good. Thank God.
Another reason to not see that movie. That woman terrifies me.
Yeah, strong, powerful woman. Yeah. But no, you'd like Rockadoodle. It's about a crooning pretty boy.
Yeah, it's about Elvis basically, but he's a rooster, and he thinks he makes the sun rise, but it turns out the sun rises whether or not he sings. So he has like an ego crisis, and he moves to Vegas. But it turns out he does make the sun rise, and a big evil owl takes over.
Hey, maybe I have seen this movie.
Oh, it's great. It's so good. Also, like these movies of this time always had kids turning into mice or kids who were mice, which frankly, as a mouse myself, really I felt very seen by all these movies. And I no longer feel like seen and represented in media that I watch.
We had a lot of mouse, or are you a rat? Certainly,
I feel sort of on the rodent. Yeah, I'm definitely on the rodent spectrum. And like the fact that like one of our biggest franchises in the 90s was about a Jewish mouse. I mean, like, come on, I was rolling in it.
Amen. The golden age of Hollywood.
Anyway, any other thoughts before we turn
I'd be curious to know what the there's so many, like, it's basically these are kids getting their wishes fulfilled, and if the commenters would like to pop in with their the best or worst wishes of their childhood fulfilled. For example, I want to see a corpse and poke it with a stick. Dinosaurs got to do that now.
Was that one of your wishes and dreams when you were a kid, Jesse?
It was until it happened.
That's a shockingly common thing. If you remember Stand By Me, the whole premise
Stand By Me is all about that.
Wouldn't it be dope if we found a dead body in the woods? And I feel like there's several movies of that genre where they're like, I don't know if you know this, but the 70s were boring. You had to go in the woods and poke bodies
and poke
have
bodies.
Fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rescuers Down Under and The Rescuers, the first one. There's a lot of great stuff coming out.
Oh yeah, great movie.
And this is not even including Disney stuff, which was of a high quality during this time.
I think Rescuers is Disney.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
I think Rescuers is Disney.
I would believe that. I assumed that.
It is. Yes, you're right. It is Disney. Whatever. So okay, Disney included, still better. Let's go to the people. By the way, if you well, actually, I'm not going to notice it, so never mind. I'm not going to say it. Remember Walter Cronkite lent his voice to this,
and
then at one point looks at the camera and said whatever his catchphrase is. That now I can't remember.
Jay Leno also did.
Yeah, like, hey, was he the bug?
No, he was like the little alien. Also, it's never explained why the professor also has employed an alien. Like, is this alien a partner, or is he an employee? Is he union?
Well, no, because they establish peace across all races in the galaxy, so everybody just works with everybody now.
Oh,
okay, so no one's union.
That's what I'm saying. So I was sitting there at the beginning, furiously trying to comprehend all of the world building that was just getting shoved in there. It's like, so
why would you ever use your brain that much? Don't do that, Jordan. No wonder you don't like these movies.
That's also a sin.
Yeah, lots of sins. Oh shoot. Do you think he got the screw eye because he thought he could use it as a pickup line? As Two Worlds, like,
honestly,
did
this guy seem interested in picking up women? I don't think so.
Unless they were terrifying in some way.
He had a good line at the end, Professor Screw Eye. He said to seemingly no one, "When I am alone, I have no one to scare, and I get quite frightened myself. And then he said
Whoa,
dot,
I
dot,
didn't catch
and then he
that.
said dot 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 the crows circle, and then they eat him.
I had tuned out by then. That's sick. I totally
Wasn't that a
missed
sick line? That line goes hard. That's like a Fallout Boy lyric.
Yeah, and then he said, my heart is like a stallion. They love it more when it's broken. And I was like, oh my God, dude.
And
he's like,
felt
I got
that.
this. Yeah, he's like, I got a loaded God complex. I cock it and pull. I was like, dude, this guy.
Oh,
Dude,
Holy
this
hell.
guy.
Oh my
honey,
God, he's
kids,
got
get
so
in
many-
here.
He's like, do you think the world is like God's like the captain of the world, and when the ship goes down, he'll go down with it? You guys want me to just go through all the Fallout Boy lines that
Yeah,
I
that's
know?
really
and we'll
good.
just
And
we'll
the
just
two
keep going?
kids are like, dude, you're scaring us. Get on with it.
Anyway, oh shoot, this is what I was going to talk about. Andrew L. Case makes the point. The 90s were very dino-centric.
100%.
Not only were 90s dino-centric, I was actually reading on this. So one of the reasons this movie exists at all is because of Jurassic Park, is because of Land Before Time, is because there was this very tight window where we made so many freaking dinosaur movies. There was Carnosaur, there was Theodore Rex, where Whoopi
Yeah.
Goldberg does a buddy cop with some crazy dinosaur. There's some weird movie that I can't remember the name of where Denise Richards actually does a sexy strip tease for the brain of a dead dinosaur boyfriend or something weird like that. So there's a lot of weird dinosaur movies coming out because in the 1960s, there's this thing called the dinosaur renaissance, where for whatever reason, scientists were like, hey, we should study again as dinosaurs. You guys ever thought about those things? They're so big. They're so crazy. And so they just started publishing a lot more. This is where Jurassic Park, the novel, kind of comes from, because that's when they started to say, hey, dinosaurs are actually maybe more bird-like. Oh, that's what it was. They thought they were like, I don't know, they look like big slugs. Like they don't move. They're just big ass, the big lizards. You don't want to mess
They
with.
thought they were slugs?
No, but they thought they were like cold-blooded and relatively not docile, but just like they didn't move around very much. And then they started looking at it more, and they were like, I think they're actually more analogous to birds, and they're warm-blooded, and they're out there like killing each other and working in pods and stuff like that. And then that took people like Michael Crichton to go, that shit's dope. And so he wrote Jurassic Park, and
That's cool.
we got all these things. So this is kind of one of the dregs of just this wave. It's interesting because I feel like we see this even now, right? Where like a science thing will start bleeding into all the movies and stuff, whether it's the multiverse, metaverse.
And like before multiverse, it was like
internets.
Interstellar travel, where like a wormhole could like take you some like it's like what we were talking about with Contact, but that like, Contact is also interstellar in a way, which is just like traversing great distances through some science that was passed down to us from you know what I'm saying? Like, you're right. That like I'm always very interested. I think one of the most interesting things about pop culture, just like in general, is like when and how these certain things become the crazes of the time, and or even just like, why are we so interested in multiverses right now? And I bet that if we did some research, we could go back 10 years and find the exact book or documentary or TED Talk or whatever that like started it all. I don't know. I always think that stuff is really interesting.
When I was a junior in college, I took Philosophy 305, which was metaphysics, and he explained this to me, just sort of modality and the like, where do our choices go, the ones that we don't make. And I think after I did that, everybody hopped on board because I started talking about it a lot in my dorm room and stuff. And I think that's what we could probably trace it back to. It's like 2012, 2011.
You think when they were writing like what's that movie called, Arrival?
Yeah,
the person who did Arrival, they were in the room with you, being like, "Damn, that kid's got some points."
Hey, I was listening to this cool guy from outside of his dorm room.
Yeah. We have to write Arrival.
Actually, so I will say that I think the reason that it's so, I actually did a Your Brain on Cracked that covers this a little bit. I actually think it's so prolific right now only because of the actual practicality of you can fix any superhero comic book movie whenever you want and build up excitement about it, because you can be like, oh, that shitty Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield is still canon. We didn't reboot it. Now he can come back whenever he wants. Like, if they ever convince Chris Evans to come back as Captain America for 5 minutes, they can be like, oh, I mean, they could even bring Chris Evans back as like the Human Torch or whatever for the Fantastic Four, which is something that he's claimed that he'd be willing to do. And now they don't have to explain it. They could just say, it's a different universe. I don't know. So there's like, I think the comic bookness and the cinematic universeness just ties perfectly to this. So like now, Daniel Craig can show up in the next James Bond movie and be like, I came from, I guess I got to switch my accent. I came from one where I didn't die. I jumped out of the way. That was really good.
That was really good. Sounded just like him.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think that's where a lot of it comes from. I don't necessarily know where it originated, but I think the cinematic universe concept that Marvel has successfully implemented is sort of inevitably. And also when you get shittier versions like the DC EU, where they're like, crap, we keep screwing up. Batman keeps wanting to quit. Damn it. Superman doesn't want to make anymore. Oh, it's a new Superman, but it's the same, but he's a couple universes over. It's fine. We're not spinning out. Anyway.
I mean, I think it's just interesting that like sometimes you can even look back to like I'm going to give a really random example, but it is true that like in the late 60s, early 70s, the expression Frodo lives became a counterculture slogan, and it was on like pins, and people would like people would spray paint it on like walls and stuff. And
this
you're
would
like,
be a good practice video too.
I would love to do this. I'm very interested in this. You might be wondering, okay, that's weird. Why the 60s and 70s? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But it's because the paperback versions of Lord of the Rings were finally widely being distributed. And so people who had not heard of it or had not read it or wouldn't have read it because it was like a gigantic, expensive hardback book were suddenly being like, ants across America. We're suddenly buying it for kids again. You know what I mean? Like, so there was this huge resurgence of people reading and or rereading Lord of the Rings, but it happened to also align with these people who were being drafted into the Vietnam War and were very unhappy about that and were like, felt like the hobbits being pulled out of their idyllic world and having to like go fight a battle that wasn't theirs. And like, it became like a thing of like, like fuck the man, Frodo lives. Like no one expected him to live. They sent him out there unprepared, blah, blah, blah. But he came back and he's okay. Frodo lives. Now we could argue he did not come back okay, but that's a movie. That's a discussion for another time.
Yeah, we didn't invent PTSD until the 90s.
But I'm just saying it's really interesting that like something as simple as a publisher completely unrelated to any world events going, oh yeah, well I guess we should reprint Lord of the Rings suddenly became like a cultural like you know what I mean. I think it's so interesting when you can like track something back, something in pop culture and or culture back to something like
follow the money, cui bono.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
All right. We're going long on this. We're gonna go as long as this.
This is a marathon. This is a 2-hour podcast.
The good news is that Big Anime Titties is back.
Yay!
Zealot Master says the moral of the story is actually to stay out of Central Park. And
that's where you jump off the huge rocks
in the 90s. Gorgonite says that this is a movie about the evils of big business, which I can't possibly see how that's true, but that's still interesting. Everybody's doing everything for free. I mean, I guess the circus is maybe.
I'm sure he's for profit. He's got land in Central Park. I'm sure he's paying a lot of money for that permit.
I doubt it because he's magic. Somebody points out Rage Casanova says it's crazy that there's no raptor representation, which is true. That's a top instead 3 dinosaur.
I know, and instead we got a Petronodon.
Yeah, and also wasn't there like one of the kids' wishes was explicitly like, I want to see a Petronodon.
No, yeah, and then they were like, "That's me." And I was like, "Shut up! You don't know that that's
dinosaur.
You. It's one of those.
You don't have sentience yet."
Mark Taylor says dinosaurs with polio, sad face, because we were talking about how one of the dinosaurs should cure polio, but that implies that dinosaurs have polio. So
if the dinosaurs had cured it, we wouldn't have to worry about it in our time. So it's on that.
Hammond also wanted to make kids happy by bringing back dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. Mm-hmm. But those dinosaurs were not concerned about their PR. That's true. That's
100% right. That is where these movies diverge. That is truly the
nobody
crux.
tried to reason
it's just
with
a
it.
PR. Yeah. Nobody fed them anti-masturbatory medicine, and just to see what happened.
Yeah, I assumed that the dinosaur that killed Newman from Seinfeld was horny and needed to be less horny.
Yeah, he had just been cranking it, and he was disturbed. He's like, "Oh, I'm angry."
Yeah. Also, Andrew L. Case pointed out that movie with the striptease of the brain with Denise Richards is Tammy and the T-Rex.
Oh, never even heard of that.
That's great.
Anime Boobs again says that you can fix any MCU movie by saying the word quantum, which is true. And now we are going to do alt titles. Yeah, let's do alt titles. Because
we really it almost feels unnecessary because this is perfectly titled.
Yeah, I mean it's quite a long title, but it's
so yeah.
All
right,
bad.
Let me start then because I actually put great SEO as one of my titles because it's truly what is it? Well, it's a dinosaur story. I also they said I can't remember which character says, "Ooh, they have a little girl with them," which I thought was kind of intriguing. Brain drain, Panic at the Circus.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's comedy! Exclamation point. Our Little Secret, and that's the way it is. And now somebody else said it, but Chastity Flakes. I feel pretty good about.
Nice,
I like
that's a good
too.
one.
But what do you got, Jesse?
Okay, Home Alone 2, but kind of backwards.
Wait, what?
Right, Home Alone 2 is when there is in New York, right? Lost in New York, and he's doing all this wacky stuff to save himself, but they're doing I don't know, it's backwards.
Yeah.
Boy.
Okay, let's get back on track here, folks. Rex and Elsa make a porno.
Stop.
Oh. Yep. Nice.
Yeah.
I love
and
Seth.
Finally, my dark unhappy brother. That's how the good scientist refers to his evil brother early on. He says,
"My dark unhappy brother." That's right.
Dark unhappy brother.
Except he says it nicely and Walter Cronkitely.
Yeah, it's true. I'm here with my dark unhappy brother. You can't see him, but he's dark and unhappy.
Yeah. Sorry, brother. Allie, what do you got?
I really kind of dropped the ball on this one. I thought I had a good one, and I went back to look at it and went, "Oh, that's not as good as I thought." But I was thinking about how it's the Thanksgiving Day Parade and how famously the other Thanksgiving Day Parade in movies is Miracle on 34th Street. And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's probably the most famous other movie where like it's about the Thanksgiving Day Parade and the Santa and all that stuff." And so mine was Panic at the 34th Street.
I love it.
It's horrible.
Why not?
I thought it was really funny when I was watching this. I was like,
but there is panic. There's such stark panic.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not wrong. It just isn't funny.
Disagree.
Cool. So let's throw it to the people. So Andrew L. Case has got "We're Back to the Future," a dinosaur story.
I mean,
Andrew L. Case is on fire today.
Even just "We're Back to the Future" is pretty dope.
We're Back to the Future.
A dinosaur story.
Really
yeah. So I like that a lot. Also somebody put "That shit fed into my childhood bird fears," which is actually a pretty good title, but I think it was just meant as an observation. Anyway.
But yeah.
Dinosaurs. No, the other one from Fresh Boy JB. We got Dino Crisis from Anime Boobies, which I believe is a video game.
Yes, it is.
Screwy Central Park shenanigans because of the eyeball, says Rage Casanova. Oh wow, look at that. We're back to they must have just put it twice. That's funny.
Still funny.
And that's it. We're done. Let's wrap this up because it's we're taking forever to talk about a movie that doesn't deserve it.
This is one of those ones where we always knew we'd get off topic and start talking about our childhoods that you hate and all that stuff.
I'd rather hear about your childhood than watch this movie in general.
Oh, well, I've got some stuff to talk about.
I've got some rocks to tell you about.
I can't get this comment to hide.
Allie, you should show us someday. You should show us your favorite rocks in Central Park.
Oh, that'd be great. I'll do a cracked video where I just show you the rocks I jumped off of as a child. There's also a Balto statue in Central Park, which I
Oh
know
my
is part
god,
of
yeah.
it's part of the movie Balto, where the grandma is like, and that's Balto, and the kid's like, whatever, grandma, and then she tells her the story, and she's like,
yeah.
and anyway, I was the little girl in the story. But there is really a Balto statue. We can go take a little walk in the park. I'll show you Balto.
I'll be there in about a week.
Oh, we gotta go see Balto.
All I've ever wanted was to see frickin' Balto, the statue.
It's Central Park, baby.
So we'll do that at some point. Actually, you know what we could do? So somebody asked what we're doing next week. I don't know what we're doing next week, but in 2 weeks, Nope comes out. We could all watch Nope in person in New York City, and then we could record an in-person podcast. Technically.
Yeah. So
Sounds
we would be
fun.
recording it on the 28th.
Yes.
Cool. I love that. I'm all about it.
Are you around? Okay.
Yes,
Also,
that's why I was double checking.
the Super Mario Brothers movie, does it count as a dino movie? It definitely is trying to capitalize on that for sure, where it's like, dinosaurs are cool, so we're kind of reimagining them as sort of dinosaur type things.
I really like that. You sounded like you were about to rap.
Oh, I can if you would like.
The way that you were like, dinosaurs are cool, so now we're gonna get on the dinosaur rap. Like you kind of had like a phrasing to it. I thought you were really gonna rap there.
I'm very inherently musical. It's actually hard for me to tamp down my flow. And I only do it for
Sometimes
this
it's hard for me
podcast.
not to be rapping.
Because I'm Dr. Jordan Breedy, and I'm here to say I love rapping and talking about dinosaur movies all day. All right, so what do you guys want to watch next week? We should probably talk about this offline because we have nothing.
Balto.
I feel like we should do another of like childhood ones before we do another cool one.
I mean, honestly, I don't think you can find it, which is very annoying. But the history behind and the production of The Thief and the Cobbler is fascinating.
I was gonna say, if you were gonna say all that jazz, I was gonna throw my computer.
Again, we have to wait for you to watch it while you're in New York because I have it on DVD and no one else, and you can't watch it otherwise. No,
you
I was
should
gonna,
watch
because you were saying what?
I just bought the Cornetto trilogy.
It's been a long time since I've seen any of those movies.
And all of those movies are incredible. We should pick one of those because they're the best.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
We'll figure it out. Each 3 hours and dubbed in another language.
Nope.
No, it's like Hot Fuzz and stuff like that.
Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, At World's End.
Oh,
they're great. But okay, where can we find you guys? Eisemann, go.
At Eisemann on Twitter. Real quick, do you guys know, because we keep saying Balto, are you familiar with the Baldo, the product?
No.
It was a viral thing a few weeks ago. It's a dildo where you put your balls in it. But anyway, that's what I keep hearing every time you say Balto.
You tell me things that I don't need to know. I just feel like every time I talk to you, I learn something against my will.
Oh yeah, I remember watching a 90s animated film about the dildo you put your balls in. I love that. Yeah, it was a whole sled dog team of ball dildos. It was great.
Yeah, just think about that when you think about or see Balto. Okay, I'm on Twitter.
For more of that goodness, follow me at Eisemann. Somebody asked you, Miss Alice Nutting, if that's your real last name. Would you like to explain that?
My name is Allie Gordon. Miss Alice Nutting is a reference to a musical called The Mystery of Edmund Drood, which is based on the unfinished Charles Dickens novel. I mean, look, it's I got Twitter when it first came out. I don't know how many years ago that was, 11 years ago, 12 years ago. And, at the time, social media wasn't like part of your quote unquote brand. So that was my name. And then it's just too late now. It's just simply too late. Like I would just be Miss Alice Nutting till I die. That's it.
I too hope to be nutting until I die. You can also find me.
Well, I've got the product for you, buddy.
Hell yeah. I don't like that. At the _J_breeding, if you type that into the Twitters, you'll find me. And maybe you should. I also make a lot of crack videos. Some of them are closer to the things that you're yelling in this chat that we're not doing. We do a lot of those things. So just look at the stuff. It'll be great. Alice Nutting over here is making a video that's coming out tomorrow about We're Back to the Future. So
Wow. What good timing.
At the 1 p.m. and, watch it. And, just, I don't know, just do whatever you want. And then Jesse's doing a video.
Do whatever you want.
Jesse's
I don't know,
got a
guys,
video.
do whatever you want.
And then Jesse's got a video coming out on Monday. And then I've got a video coming out with the esteemed Roger Horton on Friday.
Wow.
And my wife's in it. She's like a full character. It's pretty fun.
Wow.
That's exciting. Yep. Also, I just want to say my camera's off. I haven't been here this entire time. These have all been pre-recorded lines, and I've just been hoping they make sense of what people have been saying.
Yeah.
But it's basically like when a kid sleeps in a 90s movie and they put like a recording of them snoring and saying like, "I love you, Mom," under the covers. That's what's happening right now.
Jesse and I have been practicing to this recording for months.
Yeah.
We watched this
in grueling.
Yeah. We watched this movie before I was even hired at Cracked. It's crazy.
Which also means that Allie wrote all of our dialogue, which means that she wrote the bit about the Baldo, which is...
Well, I have to keep it in character. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to like it. It just has to be good.
Right.
That sums up our friendship, all right.
That's also maybe the motto of this channel. It doesn't have to be good.
Yeah. I don't have to like it. It just has to be good.
Doesn't have to be good. It just has to vibrate your balls. All right. Bye. I'm ending it here. Okay.